Hey guys, I am so excited to have a good friend of mine, Derek, Derek Clifford on. I've known Derek for about 2 years now. And when I first had the idea of doing these monthly webinar series, I wanted it to be slightly different than what's out there. You could go on and you could go on LinkedIn, you could find the underwriting or how to find your first deal, multifamily. But a lot of people are not looking for that. What they're looking for is something that they can actually listen to and actually apply it and get some measurable results. So Derek is someone that I've known for about 2 years. We ended up in the same mastermind, and the way the mastermind was broken up, we ended up in the same pod. So that meant that me and Derek were literally every week we would get on for about an hour, and sometimes those calls would go for 2 hours, and we would just talk. We at that point, neither one of us had a syndication. Derek's had 5 or 6 this year alone, and I just did our first 2 syndications. So we've every step of the way we've always helped each other. But I always marveled at Derek's ability to streamline the process. When we first started our meetings, he made it where all you had to do is click and everything else was done for you. So every single time that Derek finds out something extremely useful, he would always share it with his pod. So one time he literally changed my life, where I think I gave him a heart attack when I mentioned that I had about 10,000 emails in my inbox. And literally Derek stopped. I didn't know if it was Zoom freezing or if he literally stopped breathing. So he literally said, let's do this one-on-one. I think there was one more person from our pod signed up, and we spent like an hour. And the stuff that he taught us, I was like, I have to share this when I have that platform. And that's why this is literally, I had Paul Moore my first month. I was like, Derek, you're going to Japan in about a month. I want you to please share this before you actually leave. He was gracious enough to actually say yes. So we're here today. I'll give Derek I'll give Derek a chance to really to introduce himself, his company. He's an unbelievable operator that mainly focuses in Indianapolis. But I'll switch it over to Derek. And then I also want to mention, if you guys have any questions, because a lot of the stuff that Derek is going to be talking about might make you have a quick question or something. Just type it in the Q&A, and I'll make sure we'll get to that. I might not get to it right away, but we'll take some breaks and we'll make sure we'll get everybody's questions answered. And of course, if you miss something, this will be recorded. We'll share the recording. So this is going to be one of those webinars where you're probably going to want to watch more than one time. And then if you miss a step or something like that, it's much easier when you play, pause, and do it on your own time. And without too much more information, Derek, I'll switch it over to you.
All right. Well, hey, first of all, I want to welcome everyone to this. And first, also want to thank my good friend Dennis for giving me the space to be able to start to share some of my passion here in helping everyone elevating their own efficiency when it comes to emails, electronic tools, and just some best practices that I've found works over the years. And you might be asking yourself, what gives me the right to give this advice? Well, I can back up a little bit more. And Dennis was gracious enough to talk about our real estate investing experience. But before that, I was in the W-2 world, where it was my official job to herd maybe 30, 40 cats, which are projects at the same time. And so I was a project manager for a West Coast utilities company, and they gave me like 40 different projects they had to manage all at the same time with different phases of work and all under construction and a lot of stuff to track. And so a lot of things I'm about to teach you here are based on that experience of just like the sink or swim mentality, figuring out a way to keep it all afloat. And I found out that it's actually very efficient and useful to bring that into not only in the real estate investing world, but in your personal world as well. So I'm super excited to be able to share this with you. And Dennis, thanks again for having me on. So what I'm going to do is, before I go ahead and start and share my screen with you guys, I want to encourage you guys to use the Q&A function, just like Dennis had mentioned, and don't be afraid of asking a question right in the middle of the presentation, because I want this to be interactive. And I know that the best way that anyone learns anything is getting those questions answered right away, immediately. So I'm actually going to test the chat function right now. And I'm going to ask all of you guys, all of you attendees out there, can you type in the chat for us how many unread emails you have in your inbox right now? I'd like to see the answer to that. And Dennis, you were talking to me about having 2 or 3 pages worth of unread emails. Oh boy. Okay. So we got 557. Don't worry, Fabio, you're good. All right. Robert's awesome. Robert's there. And John, you guys got some good stuff going on. Awesome. Cool. We'll keep it coming, guys. Let me know. 478. Okay, cool. All right. Okay. We're getting up there. That's good. So, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to go ahead and start. So again, if you guys have any questions, please just let me know. I know for those of you guys out there, even those who have 0 or 30 emails unread, you guys will definitely be able to pick up something here. And so I definitely want the feedback. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All right. Dennis, you can see that, right?
Yeah, perfect.
All right, cool. So again, I have a couple of things to go over. The main thing we're going to focus on is emails. If we have some time, we may go over into calendars and tracking tasks and things like that that may be useful for you on a personal or as an investor type of basis. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with why. Why do we need to worry about emails? Why do we need to get into all of this, right? So you guys know already that we live in an attention economy. If you are able to control your attention, you can control your energy at the same time. So what we want to use is we want to start thinking about being deliberate with our tools that we have access to. Because if you're deliberate, then you're setting priorities with your emails, okay? If you have a way to automatically filter out emails that you know you don't need to read because you've already made that decision before, right? Like let's say you keep getting these emails coming in from, I don't know, PetSmart or something, and you don't have a pet anymore, right? This is not an email that you need to be reading, right? But unfortunately, it comes up as unread, and there is no way for you to prioritize beforehand whether or not that's something that is even applicable to you. And even if you hit that unsubscribe button, you guys all know that that doesn't work. As soon as you hit unsubscribe, I'm sure there's a process behind that you automatically subscribe for like 3 other lists. So I've learned to just not deal with that. So that's one thing to be aware of. And the other thing is that once you start getting busier and busier, right? As you build these systems out and build these automatic decision-making mechanisms, you can start to teach this, and you can even delegate it or systematize to other people. Like, a quick example for email would be once an email comes in that's like for, I don't know, like jewelry place, right? Like a jewelry inspection, and it goes to you, it is actually meant for your wife or meant for your spouse. Why don't you set up a rule so that once it comes in, it automatically gets forwarded over to that person? That way you're out of the equation. You're kind of out of the minutia. You don't have to worry about that type of thing. Okay. So that's kind of what we're talking about here now. And as I was alluding to, it frees up your time spent sifting through email so that you can work on your business, whether you're out there working a full-time job and looking to invest with other partners, or if you're looking to do this yourself. It works both ways, right? So that's the why. Anyone have any questions there? If you do, type it into the chat and we'll go ahead and jog to that. Otherwise, we're just going to move on and go straight to the good stuff. We're going to talk about emails. Okay. So emails is going to be the main point of this presentation. So I'm going to walk you through everything that I do to set up my account. And if you have a different type of email inbox, don't worry, we'll get you covered too. If you have Outlook or something like that, we use Gmail. So we'll use Gmail, and the same type of rules apply for there. Okay. So the first thing that I like to do is have a priority type inbox. And that's a view that you can select from Gmail. Okay. And there's some things you can do that we'll walk through as well in just a second, is to remove the important flags because that clutters the screen. And what we want to do is try to keep things as simple as possible. And I'll explain why in just a little bit. Okay. And then you're going to create filters like I was mentioning before. So in Outlook, you use rules, but here in Gmail, you can use good labels, folders to help systematize everything that you're doing here. And so again, I want to emphasize that you can set up however you want to yourself, but this is what worked for me best. Okay. That being said, I think it's time for us to jump into a live view here. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this over. So this is what my email inbox looks like. Okay. Dennis, you can see this, right?
Yep. You're good to go.
Okay. So your email inbox may not look something like this. It probably looks like one giant block here, and then you have probably some tabs at the top where you've got like promotions or social if you're using Gmail. Okay. And the reason I set it up like this is because at a glance, either whether I'm looking at my phone or I'm here in front of the computer, I can see right away what is important, what I haven't read yet, and everything else. Okay. So this is key, because when you're looking at your email inbox, what I'm trying to do is remove the anxiety of you going to your inbox and looking at this mountain of emails that aren't applicable to you, or that you have to sift through, or try to find things that just that look like maybe it's important to you. That is, to me, that brings anxiety when you're trying to run a whole bunch of stuff. You're running businesses, you have a full-time job, you've got personal commitments, all of that. It's much easier to be simply straight, very streamlined and simple. Okay. So that's important. That's what I'm going for here. This is the basic philosophy. Okay. And so whether you're doing this in Outlook or in Gmail, I think it's really important, because when you have something like this, it's you're the anxiety to open up your email inbox is not there. Instead, you're leaning into your inbox saying, okay, what do I need to do? Right. And so you get in, out, you take care of business. That's what this is all for. Okay. So the very first thing that you do in Gmail, for those of us who are using Gmail, is you'd hit this gear icon in the upper right-hand corner, and you go to see all settings. I like this compact version because you can see more information on the screen, right, than normal. And so I think, to me, that just makes sense for me in my mind. So you can do it this way. You can go in here and do this priority inbox, which is what we're going to do, but I'd like to show all the settings out over here. And because there's a whole bunch of stuff in here that you can play with, but I like to go to inbox and then do priority inbox. Okay. And if it's not selected already, you hit 1 to be starred. So you'll go in here and you'll select starred. And then the next section would be unread emails, which is unread. And then you can make this go up to 50 items or show however many items you want to. And then don't use the third section. And then you have everything else at the bottom. And the other thing I like to do, as I was mentioning in the presentation, is remove these importance markers, just because it clutters everything. And you should be the one that's in control of picking what things you need to respond to, and not Gmail. All right. So those are that's just the basic setup. It takes just a couple of minutes to get this set up this way. Now, the next thing is, so you're going to go in here and you're going to notice that I have these sections broken out, right? If, for instance, I'm just going to show you how it works. If, for instance, this is something, right, that I want to respond to, okay? If I want to say, oh, I need to actually send back these headshots, or maybe I need a different one or something like that, or they ask a question that I need to respond to, I can star it right here, or in Outlook, it'd be a flag. You can flag it. Then what's going to happen is it's going to show up here in your task to do. Okay. It's very simple, but it's something that helps, because now it's something that's on your mind. You're going to see it. It's going to be up there. You're going to be able to use that later. So John Wright says that he uses Mac Mail, and I'm not too familiar with it, but I can probably, Dennis, are you familiar with Mac Mail? Do they have a similar system with this?
I use Gmail, so I can't speak. But I'm sure they all have just the same things. It's just it might go by different names. Right.
John, I'm up for the challenge, buddy. Maybe if you, me, and Dennis, or we can talk about this a little bit later on. I'm sure there's a way that we can use Mac to help set up some of these tools for you. So we got you covered, man. So going back to this, hopefully that makes sense for you guys, right? Like you star an email when it comes in, and then it pops up into your starred things. And what this is meant to be is these are all the things that you have outstanding to do, to research, to answer questions, anything at all that you need action on, you have to star it. And there are some times, Dennis, where it's like, I have, a whole bunch of stuff like this, right? And I've got like an entire page worth of stuff that I have to sift through, right? And that's just the way that it works. But if you use your email inbox like a task list, right, and at least you have everything organized, you don't have to spend more time going through and dealing with all the unread mail also. So the next thing I'm going to move on to here is the filters. In Gmail, it's called filters. And in Outlook, it's called rules or automatic rules. And it's a little bit more complicated in Outlook, but I'd be happy to point anyone through that needs to do that, because I did that in my full-time job as well. But what you want to do is you're going to set up a filter. And essentially what it is it's your gatekeeper. Your filter is you're going to pre-handle. You're setting up a rule to say, okay, when the email comes in from this person, or when an email contains this text in it, or when it comes down through a certain list to you, you're going to pre-handle that. You're going to say, you know what, I'm going to just consider that thing read. And then I'm going to file it in scheduling. Like I'm going to say that it's a scheduling tool. So I'm just going to put it in there. Okay. Or whatever makes sense. So what I'm going to do here with you guys today, right now, is I'm going to categorize an email that I've gotten before many, many times, which is this Crexy, right? Crexy is a service where you get a ton of potential property leads if you're an operator and you like pain, just like Dennis and I. So what you're going to do here in Gmail is you have this, okay? You're going to go to these little 3 dots over here in the upper right, and you're going to say filter messages like this. Once you do that, it's going to pop up with every single email that meets this criteria, right? That you've gotten before. And this happens to be anything from notifications@crexyinc.com. Once you have this and you look through here and you're like, yeah, I definitely need to filter. I need to pre-handle all these daily emails that come out. You say create filter. And then these are the options for what Gmail will allow you to do with that email ahead of time before it comes in. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mark it as read, because I don't want to have to keep seeing this pop up every time, because I want it to say, I know this is important, but I'll handle it later, right? I don't want it to add up to my unread count. If I want it to be really important, I can star it automatically, so it's something for me to act on. I would caution you on doing that though, because then you're going to get sick of this rule and it's going to keep starring it. And you're going to have to keep unstarring it. So be really thoughtful about what you want to do with these. And then I'm going to apply the label. And I think this one, I'm just going to call it broker communication or active properties, something, or advertising. Probably broker communication is good enough. And then I'm going to hit apply filter to matching conversations. This one is key, because if you have a whole bunch of unread email, right, and you're asking it to mark as read and apply a label to it, it's going to take all of these unread emails, if they were unread, and mark them as read and apply the label here automatically for you. So from the past and to the future right now. Once you create the filter, right, just give it just a second to populate. You'll see that the label goes from just inbox to, in just a second, it should pop up with now broker communication and inbox in here. Okay. So I'm going to pause right here and see if anyone's got any questions or anything that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and I'll throw in a comment here. When I was doing my massive cleanup, I remember it almost gamified it by putting the right filtering, because it's like, oh, that one got 45 emails off my red list. Oh, that one got 90. Oh, that one got 200. And like, that's how you say, oh, like I literally cut down 10,000 emails, but it wasn't 10,000 actions to cut down all those emails, because some of these actions literally, like Crexy can literally add up to 100 emails a week. So when you could filter it, you could get rid of 1,000 emails in one shot. And then the other big thing that I know Derek instilled in me is that when you're doing these filters, it's not just Crexy, like notifications of Crexy, it's any version of Crexy. So sometimes Crexy will come up as a different version, and you have to kind of go in there and be diligent about it. But this is like the way that you can, like when you unfollow something, like Derek says, it comes right back. But when you could do the filtering, you're creating an assistant that is doing that gatekeeping for you, which is super, super powerful.
Yeah, 100%, man. Thank you for that. I mean, here's another example, right? So I'll filter a message like this, right? And you can see that it's coming from a list and it's being sent out every once in a while. I'll create a filter here. I'll mark it as read, and I'm going to change it as, I think this one's more marketing than anything else. And I'll just say apply to the matching conversations. Now I don't have to worry about this anymore. Every time this comes in, it's going to be here. And, Dennis, when we were talking about this earlier. The other person that you mentioned who was on that call with us when we went through this for like an hour, right? He was like, well, what if I miss something? What if I miss something that comes through as a filter, right? That is the risk. I will tell you that there is a risk there. If someone sends you something that gets pre-filtered as automatically read and you just miss it, that's something that you're going to have to take that risk on. But I will tell you that it is very much worth it, because here's the other layer that I want to add on here before I stop again for more questions. Can you guys imagine the power right now that, let's say, Dennis, you and I were looking at properties and we want to find out historically what has been sent out before from brokers, right? Well, because we have this rule set up for broker communication, all I got to do is check out everything that broker has sent us. Everything. And look at this. This is like a week ago, and I already have like all these all these emails, like of 6,000 emails, right, to look through. Obviously, that's a lot. But the good thing is that you have this information here in your inbox, and it's pre-sorted, pre-structured, and ready to go. So if we want to find anything that's in this broker communication label, right, that had to do with, I don't know, maybe Denver or maybe Pagosa Springs or something like that, right? You can search for it and everything comes up in the email, right? So the power here is really the sorting and the searching and using your email inbox intentionally here. I hope this is getting through to you guys, or you're understanding what this can do for you. And the cool thing is that in Gmail, and I think in other in other Outlook applications or mail applications, you can create nested labels. So for instance, on my active properties, I have like insurance bills right here, right? Like these are all just insurance bills that come in. They get automatically processed. I know that they're going to get paid, but I just decided to not get annoyed by them anymore. So I put them under here in this. Okay.
So Derek, I'll just throw in, like, I remember that conversation where, so, you do risk the chance of a email that you need to see automatically get filtering, but that's why it's important, because the filtering doesn't delete the email. So right. It filters and it categorizes them, that later on you can just go in and say, hey, I know John was supposed to really email me something about the insurance finder or whatever it is. You could just go into your search and all of a sudden, oh, there it is. It will pop up. So it's important to note that, a lot of people are like, oh, I have a clean inbox because I delete. Yeah, but deleting is a very time consuming occupation. But if you filter it once, it pays dividends for years in terms of your time efficiency, because it will keep going. And it's there in case you did miss something that you did actually want access to in the future.
Correct. Absolutely. And I think the searching capability is super, super important. I think that, being organized is well worth it here, because you've got you've got a library at your disposal here, and it's your inbox. It's just that if it's not organized and you're not able to get to it, then that's really frustrating. You're not going to be able to tap into that knowledge. And the other thing too that I would mention to this point, Dennis, is that as you're looking through your emails here, I would highly recommend that maybe at the end of the day, or when you're finished, you just skim through the people that is sending you stuff. And if it is something that you think may actually make sense for you to look at, then go ahead and open something up, right? Go ahead and open it up and go ahead and, bring it up, and you can star it, or you can change the rule if you need to. That's what I would suggest too, so that you stay on top of stuff. Does that make sense?
Yeah, great point.
Okay. All right.
Does anybody have any questions just before we go on? No questions. Cool. All right. Yeah. So this is email, right? This is the basic structure behind email. I have some other stuff that we can get into, but what I'd like to do is go back. Oh yeah. Any recommendations on setting up folders or personal preference? Yeah. I think, Fabio, when you're looking to set up folders, think about what it is that's pertinent to you right now, either as an investor or as a personal person. So like I would set up maybe a folder for finances, like for your bank account statements to come into. I would set up definitely an advertising folder, and then one for discounts, or one for like exercise or things like that. And so it's really up to you to how you structure those. They can be very broad, right? And then you have a whole bunch of sub ones, but whatever you think is important to you, that's what folders you should be creating.
So for you, maybe it's marketing, maybe it's tools, maybe it's advertising. I know, I'm part of Hunter Thompson's course, and he says Dream 100. And so one of my things to do over the weekend is to create a Dream 100 people that basically I follow. Like I just sign up for their emails just because I want to emulate what they do, and then you can set up a separate category just for that, so that everything goes into there. And then, I have a label here for my virtual professional, right? For my virtual assistant. So anything that he does in Asana or any question he has comes directly into this label, right? Anything that comes in from Zoom, right? I have under scheduling, anything for podcasts or our podcast recordings that comes in here. So yeah, it's a pretty cool system. I'm really happy with the way that this has helped me perform over the last several years, actually.
And Derek, you could also apply this to your personal life. Obviously, Derek is showing his business email, but just from a personal perspective, you could, categorizing, like, I don't know, my son is in kindergarten and he gets like 4 emails a day. I would think he's going to like a PhD program with the amount of, honestly, I feel like me and my wife are getting the homework assignments, not really my son, but it's just an easy way to, hey, categorize, Freehold Elementary School, boom, tag it. Or if you're thinking of, actually being intentional with your time and intentional with, getting a gift for your wife every quarter. Now you could go through your emails and maybe you can't filter something like that, but maybe you see something that comes up and reminds you of a new hotel or something like that. Boom, forward it right into a folder with your wife's name on it or your husband's name on it, vice versa, or your kid's name on it. And boom, now you have like a folder where you could open up at any time. And there's a bunch of great date ideas and there's a bunch of great gift ideas. All of that stuff there's no reason why this needs to be only applied to business. This could be applied to anything in your life as well, because filtering, it doesn't give you like an edit when you try to make a personal filter. Right. It's the exact same process. It goes through smooth and you'll become way more efficient at it as you do it.
Yeah. And Dennis, like, I think one thing I forgot to mention here too, is that when you set something up like this, it takes the mental drag out and it helps you prepare to get ready to start moving this stuff out to be delegated. Because if you have filters that are already like sorting through all of your emails for you, right? The ones that you need your assistants to see, you'll automatically be able to forward them through. And as a matter of fact, I can actually set up something like that already. So if I can find something here, let's see here. Maybe we'll do one of these. So if I do a filter on this, right, these are all these emails here. And let's just say that I want my virtual assistant or my assistant, or maybe my wife or my friend to see it, right? You can create the filter. And then in addition to all these things here, you can forward it to, and this is my wife, for instance, you can just forward it to someone automatically. So super powerful. You don't have to be here to do any of this. It's automatically happening in the background because you're setting up these preset rules for how to handle the mail, right? And so again, I like to use email as my task list. So anything that comes in and out of the outside world, this is what I use to task all of that out. Now, for internal stuff, that's a whole other story. I'm using Asana and Slack and everything. So there's other tools there that we can get into another time, but this is super important. I love this. And this is a great starting point for many people who are starting out. And trust me, it doesn't seem like much right now, you guys, but this is a total game changer. Imagine if you went to your email inbox, right? And all you have is pertinent email that you need to answer, show up. That's what my life is like. Okay.
And I will also say that the other stuff that Derek showed me later on in our friendship / professional relationship, a lot of the subsequent tools like Asana and like Slack, you need a clean inbox to be able to do them. So you can't skip this step and say, well, I'm just going to use Asana to project manage and I'm going to be okay. No, Asana will only work. And, I hope no Asana project developers are on this call. Asana will only work efficiently if you have a clean inbox that you can quickly get to an email and then assign it right to your Asana, whatever it is. So there's definitely tools. I don't know if we're going to get to all those tools today, but there's so much stuff that we could build on, but you have to master this step of cleaning up the inbox so that you could look at a snapshot And that snapshot should tell you what's important in your day or not.
Yeah, I could not have said it any better. So if there's any questions or no more questions on email, we're going to move on to calendars. And then I'm going to leave about 15, maybe 10 minutes or so for Q&A at the end, or Dennis, however you feel we need. If we can continue, we can go ahead and continue. So that is email. And if you guys have any questions, please type it in the chat. I want to help you guys out actively because I'm super excited about this, and it can really change your life. It really can. You may be able to get an email come in that you normally would have just ignored or not read because there's too much stuff to sift through that could be changing your life. Like, for instance, one of Dennis's opportunities. So you never know. Oh yeah. And so is there a way to time delay a rule in Outlook? Need to file reports 48 hours later. So I think there is. I believe that there is a pre-send. So at least in Gmail, if you're talking about sending an email, they have this option called schedule send. So if you want, like, let's say I'm going to send Dennis something, right? So I'll send him this and I'll say message from future, or I guess it would be from the past, right? Cheers. What I can do is I can schedule send this to any time that I want to in Gmail, right? And I know that you can do this in Outlook as well if you're communicating via Outlook. And then there's also ways to set automatic rules up in Outlook, because Outlook's got way more functionality and tools than Gmail does. You should be able to have a rule that if you're sending it to someone, then give it like a 48-hour delay and then it will go out, right? Or have it go out on a certain schedule. So in this case, I'm going to send this out at 8:33 p.m. Mountain Time. So be checking your email at 10 o'clock, Dennis. You'll get this email.
And that tool is super helpful when you do work on the weekends. What ends up happening is a lot of times if you try to send an important email on like a Saturday, 5 p.m., it might go into someone's inbox who has not applied Derek's filters properly. And by the time Monday comes, your email is all the way on like page 3 already, and they might not get to it. So schedule sending really works really well where, hey, I'm going to schedule it out for Monday at like 9 in the morning instead of sending it out for like Saturday at 5 p.m.
100%. Yeah. And if there are people out here that use Android phones, you can actually do the same with your text messages as well, which is super helpful, because if I want to reach out to my property manager and it's like 10 o'clock at night here because I just remembered something that needed to happen, I don't want to disrespectfully send them something at midnight their time, right? When it's on Sunday or Saturday. So instead, what I would do is pre-schedule send it so that it sends out first thing Monday morning or in mid morning on Monday, right? And so that's the thing. So, and then over in Gmail, you can see the scheduled email, which is right here. And so I can obviously go in here and cancel send. I can modify it or do anything like that. So highly recommend that you do something like this if you're looking for scheduled send. Okay. And then if that doesn't address your need, then please reach out to me. And I believe I think I know who that is. So if you need help with this, please reach out to me and we can get something going. Walk through Outlook. Okay, so if there's no questions on email, I'm going to jump quickly through to calendar, which is another big thing and another no-no that I see. Okay, so I'm going to go back over here. So going to calendars. All right. So it's very important that you understand that you should be using your calendar to manage your time, not your tasks. How many of you guys out there are using time blocks in your calendar and you keep sliding the tasks that you need to do out because they don't get done, and then you push them out day to day, and then the next day and the next day, or you like don't have enough time to finish, and so it just gets lost, right? So it's in the past and you have to go dig for it and stuff like that. I'm sure there are people out there that are doing work this way. I say that is not the right way to use calendars. I mean, you can do what's good for you, but I'm telling you right now, there's a better way to do things. What I think you should be using calendars for is to remind you, at least on your personal side, to remind you of what your long-term goals are, and then backing out routines or backing out daily structure that you want to implement each day. And you'll be able to direct your time where it should go. And the other thing is just like email, It is something that you use to have an account of your time with other people. So if you make commitments with other people, you have to honor that commitment. That's what your calendar is for. It's not to be a task list. It's for you to set your own goals, break them down, schedule your day, plan your day out, and keep commitments with other people based on time. It is not for your tasks, okay? If you set this up well and you don't have your tasks blocking your calendar everywhere, right? With things that you may not even be able to finish, or it's always moving because you're moving around. Other apps like Calendly and Doodle will make scheduling for you a breeze. And so that's something I'd be happy to show you guys too. But basically, it's a tool that allows you to just provide a link to someone and either set up a time to meet or schedule something with a bunch of people all in one place based on the availability that's found on your calendar. Okay. So if you don't have a calendar that's under control and you have to manually like set times everywhere, it's not going to work. So if you have this system, right, where you've got your calendar that has a purpose and it's organized and set and you have a reason for it, then you can do some pretty cool things, which I'll show you in a little bit. And like I said before, you can control your availability to others automatically. And also without having to get questions from your spouse or from anyone else. Oh, when are you going to be available? Or, when can you get this done for me? Right. Or when are you free to do this? They won't have to, once you have your calendar right up to speed, that's reflective of reality, what you can do and what your availability is, then it's easy to share that calendar with your spouse, your partners, your virtual assistants, anyone else in your inner circle. Okay.
Derek, I'll also throw out there right now, a really hot topic in real estate is what's called being a qualified real estate professional.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a requirement in time to meet that threshold.
Yep.
So one of the easiest ways to do that, besides there are apps that actually track your times, is to actually be able to have a clean calendar. If you have a clean calendar, you could kind of actually even search in your calendar, how many Zoom one-on-one calls have you had? And boom, it'll pop everything up. And now you have a place where you could tally it up. Now, obviously, if you're not a qualified real estate professional and you're just curious how much time you're spending on your real estate business or your side hustle or whatever the situation is, having that calendar is crucial to aggregating the hours you're actually spending on a project.
Oh, yeah. I couldn't agree with you more. Actually, Dennis, there is a tool out there that you can export your entire calendar into Excel format. And that's what I did. And that's what I did. It's because for those who are out there, I left my job last year in 2021, like back in late August. And I used my calendar to be able to instantly tell my CPA, look, here's the number of hours I spent on real estate. He's like, oh, yeah, you're good. No worries. You're fine. So that is usually not the way those conversations go, Dennis. When you're talking with your CPA to qualify for a real estate professional, because they're putting their neck out on the line and they have to justify to the IRS when they come down and get an audit, right? So that's one thing that you can do to really help yourself. I really love those tools also, Dennis, but you still have to remember to switch things on and off. Right. So what if you forget, and what's it for? So you have to type it all in, right? You have to type it in as you're doing it. And then sometimes you'll forget to turn it off or you'll forget to turn it on. And then you'll have blank description somewhere. So I just love the clean calendar method. Okay. That's just the easiest thing.
Is it a tool that we can share maybe to everybody who's on the call?
Yeah. Oh yeah. You mean the export tool?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is it a specific app or what is it? I have never heard of the export.
It's actually an extension for your browser, and you can download it. And then I think they have like a free trial or something. I'd have to dig up because I pulled it. I used it about 2 months ago or something. So I would have to pull it up again, but I'd be happy to share that with everyone as well with the recording. Okay. All right. So I want to show you guys what my calendar looks like. Okay. So hopefully you guys won't get scared, but I'll go ahead and show you what it looks like here. All right, so this is my calendar. Okay. Looks like a lot, and it is a lot, and I'm working on that, right? I'm working on delegating more stuff. So the first thing I want you guys to see is that I have 2 or 3 layers on here. The 2 layers that I've got is my personal life and then my business calendar. My business calendar, when I turn it off, it's pretty easy to see that I have pretty much a structure to my day for the most part. I have my workout or my get up routine, right, early in the morning. And then I have this time to focus on myself. This is called focus time for me. I spend the first part of the day working on my business and not in it. Then I have a break, and then it's time for me to go back to work, where now I'm opening up my schedule to calls and to people, because this is the hours that most people are up anyway. And then I've got my dinner time, and then I've got no pressure, self-care, or business time afterwards. And it's time to go to bed and do it all over again, right? So by having these calendars synced up, I have the ability to basically say, no, this time is off limits. This is just for me, or for very personal meetings, right? For things that I want to be working on my business. And then here you guys can clearly see the delineation where all of my meetings with other people are stacked up in the afternoon. Okay. This is how I'm using my calendar. You guys are probably wondering, how do I keep track of all my tasks? Well, keeping track of my tasks, and I know, Dennis, I'm kind of cheating and going ahead here a little bit, but I use this amazing tool called Asana, right? And inside of Asana, I have all the things that I'm wanting to do. And you could use any software, any project management software, but I like this just because it's clean. You could also use a pen and paper. I don't care what you use, right? It could be just a notepad, or it could be an Excel spreadsheet. It could be anything here that you've got a list of all your items. And instead of having a time block of an item that you're supposed to do, like for instance, get presentation material ready, right? Instead of having like what I put blocked out here, I love that irony. Instead of keep blocking this out over and over again, right, and keep moving it, instead of having that, I have them all on this list. And as soon as I get them completed and finished, they get worked on in this time. So instead of having them blocked out in here, I'm working these items on the list. I'm knocking them out inside of my time here. So that way the schedule is clean, the task list is separate, and it's all segregated and different, so that I can automate when my free times are, when I'm available to consult with people, and I'm in control of what my priorities are with my calendar.
Yeah, and Derek really, and like a big thing here is to respect the calendar. My calendar is nowhere as near as organized as this, but there are times where I notice I'll message Derek, and Derek won't respond to me until his next block work time. So he is very, very particular about this calendar, and he literally sticks to it. So he really respects the calendar. So a lot of it's going to be whether or not you're going to be one of those people where, you know, oh, it's not in that zone, but applying any of this will definitely make your life a lot easier.
Yeah. And one last thing that I'm going to say about this too, is that many people don't know, but inside these events, you can set things whether they're free or busy, right? And if you set something when it's free, then it means that some of these scheduling tools like Calendly right here, like this is what my Calendly account looks like. People can book times with me as long as I'm not already booked. So if I decide that I don't want to have anyone meet with me anymore for a certain time, all I got to do is switch this over to busy, and then it blocks my entire calendar out for that day, right? Of course, you can add another time block if you're committing to your spouse or committing to, you know, your kids or something like that, then you can do that. It's just that like living by the calendar, and I know it sounds awful to live by the calendar, but if you live by the calendar, everyone knows what they're supposed to be doing, and people will encroach less into your time ahead of time, right? Like you already have everything preordained, you know what you need to do, and you know where you need to be. So that's kind of how I do this way. And so hopefully that helps. I don't know, Dennis, if you have anything else in here that you wanted to comment on, but this is just how I like to organize my day, working on my business here, and then working in my business and on my business here on the flex time, right?
Yeah, this is definitely something that I incorporated as well. I used to be one of those people Derek would talk bad about, saying he uses his calendar as a task. That's the way I used to do it. It was either that or pen and paper. So I did start incorporating where keeping my calendar clean and then just going on to Asana and starting to do some tasks. I'm not nowhere near Derek's level in organization, but again, you need to apply 10% of this stuff to see some real difference, and then just being consistent about it.
Right. 100%. So I guess maybe I'll just open it up. Does anyone have any questions about this? I know that like some of the questions that I get initially when I first present this is like, how long does this take to set up and how intentional do you have to be? I would say that, between the emails, right, getting yourself down from 10,000 emails or 1,000 emails down to nothing, that could take about what, maybe Dennis, 2 hours, potentially 2 or 3 hours of focus work.
Yeah.
Yep. And getting that system set up with the calendar, I would say it's about the same thing. You just got to kind of think through. I think the biggest part is like, what's important to you? Like, what do you want your day to actually look like? Right. And once you have what your day looks like, then you can start setting up cool things like reminders. Like if you really want to, you get a daily reminder for you to start your focus time at 6 a.m. Or to remember to eat lunch. I actually have that. I have a calendar invite in here that reminds me on my watch right here that I need to eat lunch, because sometimes if I like power through this time and I don't eat any lunch, that's not good for me because I start running out of gas at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So use it, use these electronic tools for your availability. Set the rules out ahead of time and let the world work around you. Don't let the world push you around. Okay. That's kind of what the gist of all this with the time blocking.
Yeah, and I'll say that, after you spend that 2 hours of applying all the filters that you need to, I haven't applied a filter in 2 years since I original real call, because my page never goes past the page anymore. So you don't really need them. It never gets to that point. And if I do start noticing, I'm like, okay, this broker is really sending me a lot of spam, then maybe I'll go in and apply it. But it's really the filtering and setting this up with the starred and important and unread. You really only need to do that one time. So that's why it's super, super important that if you think this can benefit you, just set yourself those 2 hours to actually, get it done, because you'll be amazed at how much you can accomplish in such a short time period with this stuff.
100%, man. I could not agree with you more. So I don't know, Dennis, if you want me to go into a little bit more about the tools like integration with Asana, because there's a lot there as well. But I do have a little bit more. If you want me to jump into it, or if there's more Q&A, I'll just go ahead and see if there's anyone that wants to talk about Q&A, or we can jump into tasks real quick and we can kind of go from there.
Yeah, well, let's do 5 more minutes. Just
Okay.
the basics on setting up I'm monitoring the Q&As. There's nothing so far. So feel free if you guys have questions, but otherwise let's spend another 5 minutes. And then if anything, we'll just wrap up a little earlier.
Sounds good. All right. So we have emails, which is the communication coming from in and outside of the outside world, right? Then we have calendars, which is your time, what you're going to do with your time and who can get on the calendar and when, right? And what the rules are for your availability. Now, the final piece to all of this, and this is my total project manager self coming out, is how do you remember to do all the tasks? Things that are in emails, that's great, right? Like that's externally driven, but we don't want to be externally driven when we're doing businesses and we're trying to make things happen as individuals with our families, and also to find investments for people to work with and doing due diligence, all of that stuff on the side. You got to keep track of your tasks. You got to make sure that what you said you're going to do is going to get done. Okay. And so in these tasks, you need a dedicated go-to place for all of your tasks and tasks only. Okay. I have chosen Asana. There's a bunch of different tools out there. There's Todoist, there's Evernote. I'm Google Tasks even, I think. There's a whole bunch of places, or it can be even a Google Sheet or an Excel spreadsheet, right? But the main thing that I'm looking for is for you to be able to prioritize by date, category, or anything else that's important to you. Okay. And it's got to be something that's easy to access whenever inspiration hits. This is huge. Dennis, I don't know if this has happened to you, but like if you're out and about with your family, right? And you just had an awesome idea and you meant to write it down. And then when you finally got home, you're like, oh, dang, what was that? I can't remember. Right.
Yeah. Oh, it happens all the time.
There's no reason to not have this prevented. So you've got to prevent this just by having an app that's dedicated to tasks. So for me, it's Asana. And in the Asana app that you can download, right, that integrates with the web version, which is right here that you guys can see, there's a big red button that you can press right when you open up the app that allows you to start typing in right away. So you're literally 2 presses away from opening up Asana and then pressing the plus button to get whatever it is that is inspiring you or things that you think you need to get done, get it logged. And just having that, you guys, is huge for me personally, because now you don't have to walk around trying to remember things, right? Like as soon as something hits you, you're just like, oh, I need to put that on my task list. Notice that you said, I'm not writing an email because it's you. I'm not putting on the calendar because it may mess, like where are you going to put it, right? It may mess with other things and you may delay it. Put it on your list that you can prioritize alongside all of the other commitments that you said you need to do, okay? That's the main thing.
And Derek, show how easy it is to integrate Asana to your email, which is my favorite part of
Oh, yeah,
Asana.
yeah, for sure, for sure. So let me pull up my email here real quick. So here's my email, right? Let's say that for this specific item, I need to make it an internal thing. Like I've already responded to Ava here, but I need to go in and say, you know what? I need to update my headshot, right? Like this is ridiculous. Like I don't want to keep giving out a headshot that's 3 years old, right? So if you have it set up right, you can click this button right here. You can set up set it up so that Asana or ClickUp or Google Tasks or whatever you're using, you should be able to integrate it here. And as soon as you click this guy, right, eventually it'll say, okay, create a new task, and it will pull the emails topic right here. It'll be here. I'll make the due date today, and I'll put it in. I'll put it in my workflow, and it'll add the email to the task. If I want to say anything else about this, I'm like redo headshot. And let's say that I don't want me to be assigned. I actually want my assistant to be assigned it. There we go. Right? You see this here? Then, so I'm going to show you right here. I'm going to do it live. So you can see right here, this is Asana. And here is the workflow, right? As soon as I hit create task right here, I'm going to bring Asana back. And so you're able to export, right? You're able to export your emails into something internal. And so here it is right here in Asana. Okay. So you have this ecosystem that behaves well with each other, right? If you've got your calendar, your tasks, and your emails all kind of like linked up in a way, and you're organized in that manner, you can see how easy it is to keep track of stuff right now. Because I don't know, Dennis, if we told the audience, but I have I think in the last 3 months, we've acquired 5 properties, and we've been able to not miss anything. We haven't gotten late on anything. We didn't miss any detail. It's because we have these systems in place to know that anytime something needs to get done, it gets prioritized and it gets immediately put on the calendar or on the task list, and then it gets done within the time block for tackling task list items. Okay.
It beats pen and paper.
Oh yeah, by far. And so I love Asana because it's a perfect way for you to organize what needs to be done when. And so this right here is a collaboration with all my team members right here that you can see. But for me personally, these are all the things that I need to do, and I sort them out by due date. So this is how I prioritize. Like if this, for instance, is not important to me, then I might make that be later in the week, right? And then it drops down the list.
And Derek, oh, sorry.
Yeah. All I was going to say is what I like about Asana too, is that anytime there's collaboration that takes place, like I could reassign this to anyone in my team, I can have the due date change to any day that I want. And any conversation that happens with this particular item, it all stays with the item. Okay. And then you can see like how many times I've delayed this, right? Like it was assigned to me, change date. So there's a lot of cool things that you can do within Asana that you cannot do if you're just assigning stuff to people or to yourself via email or trying to track it through a calendar alone. So I think having the 3 things of your email, your calendar, and a project management tool or some sort of task list, right? That will get you 80% of the way there to getting done 80% more than you ever thought you could.
Yeah, I'll throw out a couple key things. each one of these programs, Gmail, Calendly, and Asana, they have basic versions for free. So you don't even need to spend money. I think, Derek, your team has grown 5+ people, and you're still using the free version of Asana. I use the free version of Asana. So they do have more advanced features, but those advanced features are really for bigger organizations. But when you're starting out and you have maybe a partner that you're JVing with or something like that, you could utilize almost all of the tools, and it'll be 100% basically free. The other big thing I wanna stress out is that usually when people get into real estate investing or any private securities, and the big difference between private securities and traditional stocks and bonds is the time you're going to spend on networking. And you need to network with other operators, and you need to network with other limited partners. And it's really important for you to control your time, because I know for a fact when I started out, I had a very loose conception of family life balance, because I didn't think my wife would mind that, oh, I'm jumping on an investor call. And all of a sudden I spend, an hour with the investor, and those calls add up. And not controlling my time and not controlling my calendar does, damage to your family life, and your kids see this and everything like that. So that's why it's super important to actually have control of your calendar, where you're not spending extra time that you could be spending with your family. The other thing is, with a really clear calendar, you can look yourself at your last month or your last week, and has your priority been your family, or has it been, getting on 25 different LP calls? Because maybe if you're saying that your priority is your family, but you're spending 25 times more time, your free time, with other investors, then maybe you need to shift certain things in your life. So that's why all these tools are extremely helpful. Personal life, becoming a better investor, and help you keep that work-life balance, where it's hard to have work-life balance when you're looking at 1,000 emails or 1,500 emails, because there are times when I'm answering an email and I'm like, wow, this is not the most important thing that I need to be doing right now, but I'm stuck. I'm in the middle. I'm already answering that email. And, all of these programs, and I'm not perfect, but I implemented a lot of what Derek has shown me, and my life has been the better. I've also kind of forced it on my partners, and I didn't do 1/10 of good as a training as Derek did to me for my partners, but most of them are now using Asana. Now they're filtering their emails. So this stuff really, really works. And when you start using it, and when it starts working for you, you're not going to help but actually, try to bring other people, kind of recruit other people to this stuff. And, Derek is not charging a fee for any of this. He loves this stuff. He's a great operator, and it's so easy to see why he's a great operator, because of these systems in place and how much he loves sharing his knowledge for real estate and for productivity.
Yeah, 100%, Dennis. And one last thing I wanted to add too is, I know there's people out there right now, whether you're listening to this live or watching this live, or you're watching the recording, that you overtrust your own memory. I highly discourage you from thinking that way. I actually would go completely the opposite and distrust your own memory, almost to the point of making the assumption that if someone tells you something, you're not going to remember to do it unless it gets done right there in that moment in time. And that has been the basic philosophy that has gotten me very far in life, including in asset management and acquisitions. If there's something that needs to get done, it has to have a system so that I can take care of it later at a specific time, a point in time, at a certain, it's just, it works, right? And so if you just learn to not trust your own memory to do something, and keep all the clutter stuck in the head, put it down on paper and put it in a place where it can remind you, and where it's meant to be done at a specific time and prioritized and clear, then you're just saving yourself so much time and energy and stress as well. So Dennis, I know that we're at the top of the hour. And so I just want to thank you so much for letting me come on and pontificate about all this stuff here.
Thanks, Derek, because we missed our call yesterday. So this makes up for it.
There you go. Yeah, exactly.
All right. So this is recorded. I'll definitely share the recording. And then if you guys want to share this recording for anybody that you think that might find this stuff useful, by all means. This isn't a course. We're not charging any money for this. Next month, we're going to have a unbelievable webinar with Brian Burke, who's going to talk about underwriting, reverse underwriting, which is a really awesome topic, and he does it better than I think most people. And absolutely tell people about this webinar. We're trying to make this a monthly thing, and excited to hear any feedback that you guys might have. And thank you guys for taking time out of your busy schedule. Hopefully next time we'll be on the calendar. So thank you guys, and be well.
See you.
Oh, Derek, tell them where they can find you.
Oh yeah. All you got to do is go to this place right here. Just go to elevateequity.org if you guys want to learn more. There's plenty of stuff there: books, podcasts, videos, all kinds of goodies.
Like a
Thanks,
weather
Dennis.
guy.
Yeah, exactly. There's actually a green screen behind me, so yeah.
All right, guys, take care.
Thanks.